You'll never provide the lifestyle he deserves, Victoria sneered, looking around my modest apartment with obvious disgust. Look at this place, it's barely fit for students, let alone my son. I stood quietly, holding my emotions in check as my mother-in-law continued her weekly ritual of tearing down everything about my life. My name is Emma, and at 28, I thought I found my happily ever after with Michael, Victoria's only son. We met at a local coffee shop where I worked while pursuing my teaching degree. Despite coming from different worlds, he from old money, me from a hard-working middle-class family, we fell deeply in love. That is, until Victoria made it her mission to remind me daily that I didn't belong in their world. Really, Emma, she continued, picking up one of my handmade throw pillows like it might contaminate her designer outfit. How do you expect to maintain Michael's standard of living? Teaching kindergarten. She laughed, a sharp, cruel sound that echoed through my small living room. My son needs someone who can contribute to his lifestyle, not drag him down to this. I took a deep breath, remembering my late father's words. Your worth isn't measured by your wallet, Emma, but by your heart. He'd raised me alone after Mom passed, working 2 jobs to put me through college. Every penny I earned felt like a tribute to his sacrifice. I may not be wealthy, Victoria, I said calmly, but I make enough to live comfortably, and Michael loves. Oh please, she cut me off, waving her manicured hand dismissively. Love doesn't pay country club memberships or maintain summer homes in the Hamptons. Speaking of which, her eyes narrowed as she pulled out her phone, showing me a real estate listing. This is where the Andersons' daughter lives with her husband. She's a surgeon, you know. Now that's a suitable match for someone of Michael's standing. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Family emergency. Dad's collapse. Meet me at Memorial Hospital. Victoria, I said urgently, showing her the message. It's about Richard. The color drained from her face as she read the text. Without another word, we rushed to the hospital, our previous confrontation temporarily forgotten. In the car, Victoria's usual commanding presence crumbled slightly, revealing something I'd never seen before. Fear. At the hospital, we found Michael pacing in the waiting room, his usually perfect hair disheveled from running his hands through it. Mom, Emma, he said, hugging us both. I noticed Victoria stiffen slightly when he embraced me. Dad stabilized. But what? Victoria demanded, her voice sharp with anxiety. The doctors say it's his heart. They're running tests, but it doesn't look good. Over the next few days, we learned the harsh truth. Richard, Victoria's husband and Michael's father, had been hiding his declining health for months. The doctors discovered severe heart disease, requiring immediate surgery and a complete lifestyle change. What surprised me most during this time was Richard himself. Unlike Victoria, he had always treated me with quiet kindness. Even now, lying in his hospital bed surrounded by beeping machines, he made an effort to smile when I visited. Emma, he said one afternoon when I brought him some homemade soup, something his own wife hadn't thought to do. You remind me so much of someone. Who? I asked, helping him sit up. My Catherine, he said softly, his eyes distant. My first love, before Victoria. She was a teacher too, you know. I blinked in surprise. I didn't know you were married before. Not married, he sighed. My father, your husband's grandfather, he was like Victoria. Thought Catherine wasn't good enough for our family name. Forced me to break it off. Sometimes I wonder. He trailed off, looking at the simple bowl of soup I brought. You have her kindness. Before he could say more, Victoria burst into the room. What are you doing here? She snapped at me. Richard needs rest, not your amateur nursing attempts. Actually, Richard said firmly, Emma's soup is the first thing that's given me an appetite in days. But Victoria was already shooing me out of the room, closing the door firmly behind me. That evening, as I was leaving the hospital, I quite literally ran into Henry, Richard's elderly butler, who had served the family for over 40 years. Papers scattered everywhere as we collided. Oh, I'm so sorry, I exclaimed, helping him gather the documents. As I picked up what looked like old photographs, one caught my eye. A young Richard with a pretty woman in a simple dress, both laughing at something off camera. I turned it over and read the faded writing. Richard and Catherine, summer 1975. Henry quickly took the photo, but not before I saw the striking resemblance between this Catherine and myself. We shared the same warm smile, the same kind eyes Richard had mentioned. Miss Emma, Henry said quietly, glancing around to ensure we were alone. Perhaps you could visit the manor tomorrow? There's something in Mr. Richard's study that you should see. Something about Catherine. Before he could finish, Victoria's voice rang out down the corridor. Henry, where are those papers? The old butler hurried away, leaving me standing there with more questions than answers. As I drove home that night, Richard's words echoed in my mind. Sometimes I wonder. Wonder what? And who was Catherine really? Something told me the answers would change everything. I just had to find them first. The next morning, I arrived at the family manor early, my heart pounding as I parked my worn Honda next to Victoria's gleaming Mercedes. The sprawling estate had always intimidated me, but today felt different. Today, I was here for answers. Henry opened the door before I could knock. Miss Emma, he whispered, glancing nervously over his shoulder. Mrs. Victoria is at the hospital. We don't have much time. He led me through the mansion's marble halls to Richard's study, a room I'd only glimpsed before. Victoria had always claimed it was private family space. Another subtle reminder that I wasn't really family. Mr. Richard has been trying to tell you something, Henry said, pulling out an old brass key. But Mrs. Victoria, she watches him too closely. He unlocked a massive oak desk, its surface covered in expensive leather. Last week, before his collapse, he asked me to show you this if anything happened to him. From the bottom drawer, Henry withdrew a dusty leather-bound journal and a small stack of yellowed letters tied with a faded blue ribbon. These belonged to Catherine, he explained, Mr. Richard's first love. I carefully untied the ribbon, opening the first letter. The handwriting was elegant but simple, nothing like Victoria's elaborate script. Dearest Richard, I know your father disapproves of us, a wealthy heir and a small-town teacher. It sounds like something from one of my students' storybooks. But love doesn't care about bank accounts. Catherine was like you, Henry said softly. Kind, genuine, more concerned with happiness than status. She taught at the local elementary school. What happened to her? I asked, though I was beginning to piece it together. Mr. Richard's father threatened to disown him, to cut off funding for his younger sister's medical treatments. He gave Richard an ultimatum: end things with Catherine or watch his sister suffer. I read through more letters, my heart aching. The final one was tear-stained. I understand, Richard. Family must come first. I'll always treasure what we had. A month later, Henry continued, Richard met Victoria at a charity gala. Her family had the right connections, the right background. They were married within the year. As I turned to the journal, something slipped out, another photograph. This one showed Catherine holding a baby, her face glowing with joy. The date on the back, March 1976. Henry, I gasped. This was after they broke up. The butler nodded gravely. Catherine discovered she was pregnant shortly after Richard ended things. But by then he was engaged to Victoria. Catherine never told him. She didn't want to ruin his life, she said. She raised the child alone, working 2 teaching jobs. My hands trembled as I opened the journal to its final entry. My dearest daughter, I'm writing this so you'll know your father was a good man who made an impossible choice. I've never regretted loving him or having you. Remember, true wealth isn't in our bank accounts but in our hearts. The daughter, I whispered, what happened to her? She became a teacher, like her mother, Henry said quietly. And years later, her own daughter, who never knew about her grandfather, would also become a teacher and fall in love with her uncle's son. The room spun as the truth hit me. My mother, Catherine, was my grandmother. Henry squeezed my shoulder gently. Mr. Richard suspected when he first met you. You have Catherine's smile, her way with children. He hired a private investigator to confirm it before his heart started failing. Does Victoria know? No, but there's more. Henry reached deeper into the desk drawer, pulling out a sealed envelope. Mr. Richard updated his will last month. He wanted you to know about this in case Victoria tried to. He trailed off as footsteps echoed in the hallway. Henry? Victoria's sharp voice rang out. Why is that shabby Honda in my driveway? The butler quickly helped me gather the letters and journal. The back stairs, he whispered, pointing to a hidden door behind a bookshelf. Go, I'll handle Mrs. Victoria. I slipped out just as Victoria entered the study, clutching the proof of my true heritage and wondering how it would change everything. But I never could have predicted what happened next. 2 days later, Richard's condition suddenly worsened. The family gathered at the hospital, where he asked to speak with me privately. Victoria protested, but Richard was firm. "Emma," he said weakly, taking my hand, "you found the letters." I nodded, tears in my eyes. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I was a coward once, letting Catherine go. I won't be a coward again." He squeezed my hand. "Behind the painting in my study, the landscape of the summer house, there's a safe. The combination is Catherine's birthday, 03 to 1552. Everything you need is there." Before I could respond, monitors started beeping urgently. Richard's last words to me were, "You're so much like her. Make it right." After Richard passed, Victoria wasted no time asserting control. At the reading of the will, she sat smugly as the lawyer began reading the standard document. "I leave all my worldly possessions to my wife Victoria." As expected, Victoria interrupted, shooting me a triumphant look. However, the lawyer continued, "This will was superseded by a new version, properly notarized last month." He pulled out another document. The true will was hidden exactly where Mr. Richard said it would be, behind the summer house painting. Victoria's face went pale. "What?" The lawyer cleared his throat. "I, Richard Harrison, being of sound mind, declare this my final will and testament. To my wife Victoria, who married me for my family's money, I leave exactly what she brought into this marriage, nothing." "This is absurd." Victoria sputtered. "I'll contest it." "To my granddaughter Emma," the lawyer continued. "Yes, I confirm through DNA testing that you are Catherine's granddaughter, and therefore my granddaughter. I leave the summer house, half of my personal fortune, and my controlling shares in Harrison Industries." The room erupted in chaos. Michael, who had been silent until now, turned to me in shock. "You're my cousin." "First cousin once removed, technically," the lawyer clarified. And before anyone objects, Mr. Harrison included full documentation of his relationship with Catherine, Emma's paternity test results, and evidence of Victoria's financial indiscretions. Victoria slumped in her chair as the lawyer revealed how she'd been secretly siphoning money from the company for years, believing no one had noticed. Richard had noticed everything. "The remaining assets," the lawyer finished, "are to be divided between the Harrison Educational Foundation, providing scholarships for aspiring teachers, and a trust for Catherine's original students' college funds." I stood up, finally facing Victoria. "You always said I couldn't provide the lifestyle your son deserves. But it turns out you were the one who had nothing to offer except lies." Michael, looking at his mother with new eyes, moved to stand beside me. "All those years you told me to be proud of our wealth, and it wasn't even yours to be proud of." Victoria left the manor that evening, her designer bags considerably lighter. Last I heard, she'd moved in with her sister in Delaware. All her social media accounts mysteriously deleted. The story of Catherine and Richard became a family legend, one I proudly share with my students when they worry about not being good enough. The summer house is now a retreat for teachers during their vacations, and the Harrison Educational Foundation helps dozens of students pursue their dreams regardless of their background. Michael and we realized our relationship was better as family than romance. He's now dating a kindergarten teacher he met through the foundation, and Victoria will be horrified to know he's never been happier. As for me, I keep Catherine's photo on my desk at school. Sometimes, when I'm grading papers late at night, I swear I can feel her and Richard smiling down at me, proud that their love story finally found its happy ending. Just not in the way anyone expected.